What is up, lads and lasses? Today we're going to be discussing why I think Gi-Hun is going to be the next frontman. This all hinges on a very particular thing that Gi-Hun tells the current frontman himself. Just to refresh everyone's memory and to make sure we hit that 10-minute mark, I'm going to summarize what happens until then. Long story short, Gi-Hun rejoins the game in efforts to stop it, hoping that his hired crew of investigators and mercenaries find the location via a tracker and help end the games. What he didn't count for happening was them finding out about the tracker, him being trapped in there, and on top of that, the front man going in disguise, infiltrating the actual games and playing with them. Even though we know who the front man is, this position still shocks the audience, and we're all at the edge of our seats to see what he's going to do next. And they played this so brilliantly, so smartly, that even we, the audience, started to have doubts about his true intentions. As you watch him play the games, we really feel like he's actually on our side. We feel like he might be turning a new leaf, although we don't know why. He participates in the deadly games such as the Six Legs game and the game where they have to go choose, their friends and run into a room. During the Six Legs game, the first real interaction that we have with him, he is cheering along at the top of his lungs. You can't perform like that. You can't put on a fake performance like that. He really was cheering on as his fellow, game players are sacrificing their lives, are literally playing with their lives as the prize to try to get to the end of the race, to win these incredibly difficult games. I mean, they're not that difficult, but one slip up could really mean you and your team's life. And it's that passion and that true emotion in his eyes that you as the audience, we all felt like something else was going on there. It wasn't just a performance. He wasn't just there to fake it. Obviously, he's trying to keep an eye on Gi-Hun, right? But at the same time, I mean, he could do that through the cameras, no problem. He wanted to get up close and personal. And I believe it's for a specific reason. In the lobby or the waiting room, he builds and establishes genuine emotions and relationships with all of the other players. Take into account Gi-Hun's real friend, right? He tells him about his hardships, about his mother and whatnot. And I mean, that's obviously the best lies have a little bit of truth in them, right? But there really is no actual point in trying to establish an emotional connection like that. He takes care of and looks after the pregnant lady, even makes a joke to cheer up the rest of his team. He asks about the other players, how they're feeling. He motivates them. He steps in and he tries to help Gi-Hun and the rest try to convince the other players to leave the game. Well, I think he does all this for two reasons. Reason number one, I think he tries to get up and close and personal with Gi-Hun because he's probing him. He's trying to see if Gi-Hun really is a good fit to be the next frontman. And reason number two, I think this whole game is really like a microcosm for society. Similar to what we saw at the beginning of the episode with the recruiter going in and offering a bunch of homeless people bread or the lottery. They all chose the lottery, bar one. And then he steps on the bread and says it's your fault. Similarly, the front man is in there as a litmus test to society. He's trying to see the actual state of these people, and every single time, as a whole, in the grand scheme of things, they disappoint him. Whether it be a large example, for example, during the voting, 2 or 3 times, he saw what people are willing to do. People are willing, they don't care about other people's lives. All these blue people, that's half of the entire game. So half of the entire world, and in most cases the majority, because I think 2 out of the 3 times, the majority of people voted to keep playing. He would think that the majority of people are evil and greedy people. When he went to try to convince them to not vote, that was deep within his heart. He meant those words. Guys, stop playing the games. You're gambling with your lives. There is no point in this. People kept trying to justify it. For example, the one with the family. He said, I'm gonna go home to nothing. My family will have nothing. What do you mean nothing? You have you. He's willing to die if he dies. If he goes back, while it's going to be hard, at least he can still, struggle and support his family, right? Even though it's not that much, even though they have to be frugal, even though they're going to have a very, obviously not the most lavish of lives, but they'll still have each other, the most important thing. But if he disappears, so too does, number one, the financial income for that family, and number two, the father, the person to raise those kids. And like, that's enough for the Frontman to just kind of have disdain for society, right? Obviously, you have to take into account something, right? Us as viewers, we're going into the Squid Game and whatnot as first timers. We're fresh. The Frontman has been witnessing this, seeing these games in real time for, who knows, maybe up to 5 to 6 years. That will break a person down. That will make someone lose their hope in society. We as a civilization have had open access to internet for about 10 to 12 years, right? And all of us probably had supervised access, but if you ever go and you see somebody, somebody who has had unsupervised access to the internet and has constantly been consuming the evil and darkness that humanity is truly capable of, whether it be like from bad websites and whatnot, like you can tell that they're actually nihilistic and they've lost hope. They have no hope for humanity, right? So imagine how this Frontman is, right? We have to take into consideration that. Now, two other examples. There are many other instances of people disappointing the Frontman, but two other major instances. Number one is when the son abandoned his mother. And don't tell me he didn't. He got dragged. Okay, you can fight out of that. Any person can fight out of that. If he gave enough resistance, those two players would have decided, hey, listen, this guy's not worth it. We'll find another guy, right? Anyways, and even still, you should be willing to sacrifice your life, for your mom. You get out of there, you go get her, and you say, screw it. I'd rather die than live, knowing I left my mom like that. Anyways, that's besides the point. So that's another instance of Frontman being disappointed. But the biggest turning point for the Frontman, what really solidified his stance, was when Gi-Hun decided that it was acceptable to sacrifice some people for the greater good. Think about it. What is Squid Games? That Squid Games is just, you're getting rid of a small amount, like in their eyes, the scummiest of the scum, and when you do that, that's kind of a benefit to the greater good, right? That's in their eyes. And so Gi-Hun finally accepting the fact that maybe that's okay really proved to the Frontman two things. One, that the Squid Games should keep on going, and two, that Gi-Hun is ready to be the next Frontman. Because in essence, that is what you're doing as the Frontman. You're facilitating a sacrifice for the greater good, at least in their eyes. There is a whole ethical discussion that can happen surrounding this, but we're not going to get into that right now. So that is, I feel like this whole sequence of events, Gi-Hun winning the game, going back and talking to Il Young or whatever, the old man from the first game, tracking down these guys, the Squid Game people, going back into the games, trying to stop the games, playing hero like he did in that season, trying to set up a revolution. I feel like that sequence of events has been followed and meticulously tracked by the Squid Game administrative people, and they're setting up Gi-Hun to be the next Frontman. That's why they didn't kill him at the end. They killed his friend. They didn't kill him. They captured him. They presumably killed everybody else who were part of the revolt, which I don't think they should have, but I don't know. But anyways, yeah, that's my thoughts. That's why I think that Gi-Hun is going to be set up to be the next Frontman, and I don't know. He could probably accept. He might accept it. We might find that the Frontman probably went through a similar sequence of events and then accepted his position as the Frontman. That's one theory. I think the major and most accepted theory that's trending right now is that the Frontman is the son of the guy who organized the games, and obviously the Frontman not being able to have a child, and his knowing that his brother's sense of justice is too clean and rigid to be able to accept being the next Frontman. I think they were in a scramble to find the next organizer, and I don't know. I feel like Gi-Hun, he's a good guy, but he has enough in him to, like we said once again, be able to sacrifice for the greater good. And I feel like that thought process is what's needed in order to become the front man, because the front man doesn't seem like that evil of a guy. He doesn't seem like he's very sadistic and he enjoys watching these things occur. It seems like he feels similar to Thanos, like the real Thanos, not my goat Thanos, not my goat the rapper Thanos in the game. The real Thanos, he's a bit of an anti-hero, and he feels what he's doing is right for society. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you all very much for sticking through. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'd really like to hear your guys' thoughts, and let me know if this is something you guys like me to do. This is branching out of what I usually do for this channel, but I am struggling to force myself to watch the absolute smut that Kuruluj Usman has become. My thoughts on that later. I mean, it's still one of the greatest shows. I love Dirilish Arturul. I love Kuruluj Usman. I love what these shows stand for, but it's something we can discuss another time. But yeah, thank you all very much. Have a wonderful rest of your days, and I will see you all later.